I want to ask you about maybe your thought process during that event there yesterday. They were about 20 feet away. You kind of pointed at them, you waved to them, you touched your heart to them. What was your thought process during that? And then they were cursing you out.
Yes, there were a lot of angry anti-vaxxers there, but there were also mingled in among them some supporters who were feeling perhaps beset, but brave enough to come out and stand beside screaming people who weren't wearing masks, or threatening all sorts of violence. And in that particular moment where I turned to look over the balcony, there was a group of young women, specifically racialized women, who were waving at me. And when I smiled and said, thank you for being there, and yes, greeted them, and they cheered and said, thank you, I was talking to them. And it is something that we have to reflect on, that even in Canada, where, yes, there are angry mobs who are threatening violence and hurling racist epithets, there are people coming out to stand beside them and say, we support you, keep it up. We know vaccines are the way through this. People who come out and will bear the shouts and the insults because they believe in choosing a better future than the one that those anti-vaxxers are fighting for. So yes, even at the risk of knowing that people thought I might be waving at those anti-vaxxers who I was basically ignoring, because I won't respond to anger with anger, I'll just ignore them. But I will encourage and thank those Canadians who are willing to stand up for the path they know is right for them and their communities.
Prochaine question.
Oui, bonjour, M. Trudeau. Laurence Martin, Radio-Canada. Justement, hier soir, à Newmarket, vous avez pris plusieurs minutes avant de descendre de l'autobus qui était encerclé par des manifestants. Qui est-ce qui décide, en fait, qui est-ce qui prend la décision finale si vous descendez ou pas de l'autobus?
La décision finale sera toujours prise par la GRC. Si les gens qui sont là pour la sécurité ne peuvent pas assurer que la sécurité de mon équipe, mais surtout des gens qui sont là, la décision sera prise de ne pas le faire. Et il y a toujours des discussions à ce niveau-là, mais pour moi, la sécurité des gens qui sont là doit être en avant de tout. Mais on a pris la décision ensemble, et la GRC fait partie de cette discussion, que si on le faisait d'une certaine façon, on minimisait jusqu'à un niveau acceptable les risques de la situation. The final decision on whether people are going to be at risk and whether we move forward with something needs to be those responsible for keeping Canadians safe on a minute-by-minute basis. The local police and the RCMP specifically, who are there to keep my team safe, but also everyone who comes out, including the anti-vaxxers. Their job is to keep everyone safe. And if there is a situation where truly people are at risk, at serious risk, and they don't feel they can keep things safe, then they will make a final call. But in discussions, because there are always discussions going on, we were able to find a way that minimized the risk to everyone and allowed us to continue to go ahead with meeting and thanking supporters and talking about the way we need to move forward, and that's what we did.
En suivi?
Moi, je me suis demandé hier soir si vous alliez sortir de l'autobus parce qu'il y avait beaucoup de manifestants et on sait qu'un dérapage est très vite arrivé. Je comprends que vous avez eu des discussions avec la GRC, mais est-ce que vous, dans votre tête, vous vous dites pas des fois, mon Dieu, est-ce que je suis pas en train de mettre la sécurité de mon équipe, de mes bénévoles, de tous les gens qui m'accompagnent à risque en sortant de l'autobus?
Est-ce que vous savez ce qui met les gens à risque? De ne pas se faire vacciner, de reculer face à la science, de ne pas être là pour protéger les gens avec un pays qui prend les mesures nécessaires pour qu'on en finisse avec cette pandémie. Donc oui, ma job en tant que Premier ministre, c'est de protéger les gens et je vais y penser dans l'instant et je vais y penser dans les mesures qu'on met de l'avant pour les mois et les années à venir. Il y a toujours des choix difficiles et importants à faire en politique et j'espère pouvoir faire les bonnes. Je pense que on est en train de prendre les bonnes, mais ça fait partie des discussions et des choix que les Canadiens ont à faire dans cette élection.
Next question.
Hi, Mr. Trudeau. You just said that you can't let the, quote, anti-vaxxer mob dictate the future, and you also said that you can't back down. But security aside, do you not feel that your attendance at events like yesterday, where the protesters are largely not wearing masks, there's no social distancing, does that not pose a health risk to you, your security detail, and your supporters who were there? Some of them were young, unvaccinated children as well.
First of all, the idea that those anti-vaxxers were choosing not to wear masks for the protest, but were about to go home or to the grocery store or to their to visit their friends and wear masks is simply not true. I mean, they're going to be putting people at risk wherever they go, which is part of why we're going to make sure that people who choose not to get vaccinated don't get to get on a plane or a train, don't get to work in the public service, don't get to, by working with the provinces on vaccine certifications and mandates, don't get to go to movie theaters or gyms or restaurants and other non-essential services. That's how we keep people safe. And that actually is part of the choice Canadians get to make in this election. And that's why it's so important to continue to stand strong and determined on moving forward in the right way. Erin O'Toole basically said that any of those anti-vaxxers who were protesting could be sitting across the aisle from your 12-year-old on a flight south in a few months. But they'd have gotten tested. That's not good enough. That's where we disagree, and that is something we are going to continue to stand strongly on, and Liberals across the country, alongside Canadians who continue to know this is the way forward, will continue to stand strong for the future.
Following up.
That didn't quite answer my question, but I will move on. After the border was opened to fully vaccinated Americans and their children last month, border crossings more than doubled with traffic of people coming from the U.S. Dr. Tam has now said that we are in a fourth wave, estimating in the recent modeling we could be seeing up to 15,000 cases a day by the end of the month. So why do you believe that now is a good time to open the border even further to foreign nationals, despite the fact that ICU beds are starting to get filled up and case counts are also on the rise?
Fully vaccinated foreign nationals. Fully vaccinated Americans. Those are the people who are allowed to come to Canada right now. Because we know that this fourth wave that is filling up ICU beds and putting a strain on healthcare systems across the country and slowing down our economic recovery in certain parts of the country is a wave that is affecting the unvaccinated primarily. Almost 80% of Canadians did what they needed to do and got vaccinated and now expect to be able to get back to normal and want our economy to recover. And that does mean welcoming in business travelers and tourists from places around the world as long as they are vaccinated. Because that's not where the risks are right now. That's how we get through this. And those 80% of Canadians and their kids who've done the right things, they deserve to get back to normal as quickly as possible. And that's what we are allowing for. We will always monitor the risks, but right now the risk is by and to unvaccinated Canadians, which is why it's so important to do your part and get the shot if you haven't yet.